Welcome to Living Life Gospel. Real life, real talk, real hope. Every show. Join us every Thursday at 6:30 p.m. as we discuss topics relating to life, church, family, education, and so much more. Invite a friend. Tag them even. But don't you dare miss the show. Living Life God's Way. Every Thursday at 6:30 p.m. Welcome to Living Life God's Way. Real life, real talk, real hope. Every show. Join us every Thursday at 6:30 p.m. as we discuss topics relating to life, church, family, education, and so much more. Invite a friend. Tag them even. But don't you dare miss the show. Living Life God's Way. Every Thursday at 6:30 p.m. Welcome to Living Life God's Way. Real life, real talk, real hope. Every show. Join us every Thursday at 6:30 p.m. as we discuss topics relating to life, church, family, education, and so much more. Invite a friend, tag them even, but don't you dare miss the show. Living Life God's Way every Thursday at 6:30 p.m.
You would not believe the discussion that we're having at this moment.
Oh no.
I hope you saw the guilty one who did this. Welcome to Living Life God's Way. We're glad you're here with us this evening as we begin our discussion on socializing and social skills. We're going to look at a lot of things this evening as we move into part 2 of our discussion. So please share your thoughts with us. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be exciting. So please join us. Ladies.
Good evening. Glad to be back another week already. Yes, I'm looking forward to the discussion as always. And I think even though we kind of got an idea of what we're going to discuss, I think it's going to be rather interesting what comes out of the discussion. So yes, looking forward to tonight.
Hi, and good evening. Welcome again. And this is the perfect opportunity for you to take the link and share it with your friends. The topic is really worthy of everyone listening, teens, adults, everyone. So join us now and let's have some fun together.
All right. And as you said, as the lady said, it's going to be exciting. It's going to be interesting. We're going to cover a few bases. We're going to talk about manners. We're going to talk about etiquette and so on in this evening discussion. Because as we talk about socializing, we know that we are socialized based on a number of things. How we grow up, our culture, those who we hang out with, and so on, our education, our lack of, all these different things play a role in our social behavior. So we're going to be talking about those this evening. So let's just take a short break and say hello to our sponsors. Without them, it couldn't happen. So please stay with us. Welcome back to Living Life God's Way. This is part 2 of our discussion of socializing and social behavior, social skills, and so on. That's what we're going to talk about this evening. And our in-house encyclopedia is going to give us the definition.
Certainly. So 2 words you're going to hear playing up today. The first one is manners and the other one is etiquette. So manners, a way in which a thing is done or happens. All right? Manners, a way in which a thing is done or happens. For etiquette now, I have 2 meanings. So the first one is customary code or polite behavior in society or among members of a particular profession or group. Another meaning for etiquette is simple, they say, maybe debatable, but hear it nonetheless. Good behavior which distinguishes human beings from animals. Those are the definitions. Take it away.
All right. No, you want to go right ahead and jump on.
Give me the last.
Oh, you want the
last one? Yes.
Certainly. So simple definition, and I'll give it from Management Study Guide. They say good behavior which distinguishes human beings from animals. Yes, please.
I like that.
You like that?
Yeah, I like that.
Why?
I like that because the human behavior and the animal behavior should be totally contrast.
Yes.
Sometimes you hear somebody say, "Well, you behave like that. You behave like an animal."
Right.
Then
Right.
we will know that that is out of order.
Mm.
So from that point of view,
Okay.
Yeah.
I understand that.
Loud and fast or
But in some
Right.
cultures, loud and crass is not seen as unmanageable, if there's such a word or not. Or, it's not seen as rude or,
It's
as
part of the
it's part of
culture?
the culture. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
for some,
Yeah, for some. But what we have to be mindful that what we think is crass and loud might not be to somebody else.
fair enough. So then how do we establish what is a code, what is the behavior, if it is based on person's interpretation?
Because it's your culture, what you're accustomed to. Like they say, when you in Rome, do as the Romans do. There's that
Right.
saying.
Okay.
So if you go to, that's why when you travel, when you go to other places, when you go to certain work environments, there's a code. There's always a code. Or if you look at do management and organizational management, there's a culture. There's an organizational culture. So you might have two insurance companies, for example, but the culture within inside those insurance companies might be very different.
Okay.
So you have to learn the code.
Mhm.
So I think that goes with anything, wherever you go. We talked about it last week, knowing time and place.
Yeah.
So you have to read the room, as it were. You have to read the organization. Is this going to be acceptable here? Is this what I normally do? Is that is that going to be allowed? Is that what am I going to be looked upon as being rude or loud or what have you?
Yeah.
So I think you have to read, but then that's all part of being socially in tuned, because not everybody is able to read the room. Like we talked about, neurodivergent persons may find it a struggle to read people's behavior and so on. So, but that's what that would be about. It's about reading a room and identifying what is happening before kind of lunging in.
So you're saying then some things might be permissible in some places, where others may consider them out of order or manually or whatever.
Yeah.
But it's important then to know where you are, feel the room, as you were saying. Know where you feel the room so that you know what is appropriate for that particular place.
Correct.
That knowing the environment is important when it comes to socialization. And I agree with you. I just wanted to emphasize it by repeating it. I totally agree, because if our behavior where we are should determine how we respond or how we react or how we speak or what we should say, because you don't want to be in certain places where the culture doesn't permit you to be, let's say, loud. Like, for example, you're sitting in the meeting with others and you're having conversation and then somebody goes, and start, and then like, this is not the place.
Somebody might say this is me.
But it's not the place. Still not the place.
Right. Let's
I don't
go
like
there.
being fake. I don't
Yeah,
like being fake.
Let's go there. Let's go there. I
Yeah,
think that's
that's
important.
Yeah.
Because you do hear the phrase, I am just being me.
Yeah.
Being authentic.
Being authentic.
Yeah,
I don't
my
know if
authentic
you tell
self.
it.
Yeah. And you carry on. So you have a meeting where somebody is louder, so they behave their way because they are culturalized at home or wherever, this particular place. But we are saying that in a particular environment, that behavior is out of order.
Agree. Agree.
You see that to some extent, that's where kind of class fits in. And I know class is a very touchy, sensitive subject.
Right.
But it's about that because social class or just class used to be called like rank. That was the word. It was rank or caste, or the order within which you were within society. And we kind of moved it to class in the 19th century. But that has a lot to do with time and place, because what's acceptable in a particular circle of people is not acceptable in another circle of people. And that's what we're talking about in terms of etiquette, particular groups and so on.
Yeah.
And so for me, for example, the culture within, say, a construction site, which I've passed on many occasions here and overseas,
Right.
is very different from, a building of professional lawyers,
Mhm.
for example. So it's about time and place. Not that they can't adapt to the different environments,
Mhm.
but it's knowing that you have to adapt to the
Right.
different environment. And I think that's where some people get lost.
Yeah.
They don't realize that you have to adjust because you're trying to, assimilate, or you're trying to fit in, or you're trying to, be heard in a particular forum.
Mhm.
So you then have to, not pretend, but you have to adapt to that environment
Just be mindful.
and be mindful. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's the problem, that people don't want to or don't know how to make the adjustment. And then that's when they become kind of imbalanced.
Do you think in the not knowing how to, part of it being that they're not consciously aware of what are the codes or what are the expectations and behavior? Because as you say, class, a particular person might say, well, this is what I hear all the time.
Mm.
And this is how we speak, this is how we get along. So this is all I know,
Mhm.
right? But unless they put themselves in the way of knowledge or information, then they'll continue with that. And if you try to tell them, that's not what we do there, they say, but they won't pretend,
Mm.
So it seems like education has to be given.
Well, that's all part of it. And that's not, when we say education, it's not about academic
No,
qualification.
just the
It's about
information.
exactly.
What
It's
is
about that knowledge
acceptable.
sharing. Yeah.
Right, right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
how you adjust and why.
Thank you, Dr. Ian, for jumping on and commenting. I love what you have here. We have to be socially intelligent.
Yes.
Oh,
that's what I
yes.
said. Yeah,
Yes.
you have to be.
Socially
Yes.
intelligent.
You have to.
Yeah.
You have to, because you have to be able to read a room. You have to be able to read people's response to you. And we talked about it last week, that it might not always be words. It might be a body
Body
language,
Right,
body
right,
movement,
right.
eye movement.
Right.
And you've got to be able, you should be able to do that. We talk a lot about emotional intelligence, in tune with your feelings,
Mhm.
and that is all very good. But I agree, socially intelligent is absolute. It is. You need to have
Right.
social intelligence.
But you hit an interesting one there in terms of body language.
Mm.
What's the body language when we're in a classroom, when we go for an interview, when we're having conversations? Because I have been to lectures
Mm.
where I saw people supposed to be listening and they're slouching,
Mm.
or they're waiting for an interview and they're just back, legs open, and it's doesn't look quite right within context.
Mhm.
How do we tell people when you're going in a particular environment, if you're going for a job interview, this is how you sit up vertical, you wait,
Mm.
all these things we need to be mindful of, because especially if you're going for an interview, persons will be looking at how you carry yourself, and especially if you're going for a professional job, you have to know how to carry yourself in that
Mm.
manner. If it's something more relaxed, well, they might just have to see how you address people, your posture, looking in their eyes, and so all these things, people need to be mindful of.
Mm.
I think while you were speaking, I was sharing one thing that came to mind is mentorship. I think that if you are, let's say you want to move into a particular field, I think you should either connect with someone who is in that particular field, that you know the relative expectation. When you sit among this type of people, this is the culture. I know, as we were saying earlier, persons will be saying, but this is me, I want to be like myself. But you cannot be yourself if you're going to function in a world like that, where you are, because you could see that as out of order, as opposing to, being the authentic you. Because if the authentic you is offensive,
Mhm.
then that's something you need to work on.
Oh, yeah.
It's because it's okay to be the authentic you, but if it needs some
Polishing
rough
up.
ears,
Mm.
polishing up, and filing down, and so on,
Mhm.
we really have to consider that, because it can be a hindrance to an individual. Your social responses or your social behavior could hinder someone from blessing you, could hinder
Mhm.
someone from
From
showing
befriending
you,
too.
from befriending you,
Mhm.
teaching you, wanting to be in your space, because you don't know where and when. And I find a lot of us human beings don't know where I
And
land.
when.
I find that we are just anything goes at any point in time. So when you go and you mix with people, your behavior is like, what is that you just brought in here? You know?
That's why I like what I would love to see. Fourth form, fifth form, maybe not fifth form because they're taking their exams, but at some point, maybe third form,
Third, that's
to do work placements. As part of the curriculum, they go into a place of work, maybe just for 2-3 weeks, something like that, and kind of learn those skills of being in the workplace. Because the whole point of education normally is to get a job.
Right.
So that's what the education, system is for. It's to groom you. If you look at the history of education in schools, that is the history of it. It's to groom you into a conforming, pliable human being who will go out to work. All right?
Mm-hmm.
But yet we have hardly any work skills in the curriculum.
that's it.
Mhm.
And then they
Yeah.
ask you for experience.
And then ask for experience.
when you apply for a
Right.
And I didn't get experience if you don't have a
Yeah.
job.
Right.
So the placement or even some kind of push for doing voluntary work, so many hours. I know there's a program now, a give back program with UE and so on, but
Mhm.
so many students have to do so many hours voluntary work and so on. But I'm talking before you get to that level. In school, you go out to work. You know what it's like to get dressed and to go out to work and learn work culture. So you kind of get a different essence of this time and place that we're talking about.
Right.
But they're getting it too late. It's too late when
Yeah.
you're 18, 19, 20, and now you're being taught how to sit properly, talk properly, stand properly, address people properly.
You're right.
I think it's a little not never too late to learn, but I think it's a bit late in the line. It could be done a lot earlier.
Yeah,
So
I
you don't
agree.
have so
I agree.
much work
I
to
totally
do.
agree with that.
I think health, life, and family. I can't remember.
HFLE.
Yeah, HFL. I think some schools might have it included in the program there. But again, putting it in context of particular profession or particular group, I think that is something can even incorporate it for career day. But if I may drop in here, as Pastor Brian was speaking also, he talked about person not knowing and asking what is that?
Mhm.
And he talks about it's good for relationships and so on. It was interesting now when I was doing some reading up and to say why are social etiquette or manners important?
Mhm.
When you find out what are the reasons, you'll recognize why we have to learn these skills or find out about these skills. It is important for strong friendships. Etiquette today is largely based on making people around you feel comfortable by treating people with kindness and courtesy and respect. We make ourselves likable, and this allows us to build stronger personal friendship and relationships. Talking about etiquette.
Mhm.
I didn't even know that was
That's
directly connected.
a true statement. Yeah.
That's part
Yep.
of it.
Wow.
Yep.
So it is something that we have to put ourselves in the way of information. And it's interesting. If you go on Google, there's so much information.
Mm.
And I still believe, even though a particular group or particular environment might have a certain code of conduct, there's some basic skills
Mhm.
which we could be mindful of
Mhm.
as we interact with people that we need to be mindful and practice. And maybe we can just look at a few of them as we go on.
Well, I think the only challenge I have is that we're living in this culture at the moment, and this is worldwide, not just Barbados.
Yeah.
There seems to be this very individualistic mindset that I don't need anybody. I
Yeah.
can do it all by myself. I don't need to make people feel comfortable. I don't need to do this. I don't need to do that. I don't,
Right.
I.
Right.
And
Yeah,
so
yeah, yeah.
that's why,
Yeah.
and I think that
Yeah.
is why we are also seeing
Mhm.
more of this not knowing time and place, not knowing when,
Mhm.
because people don't want to. Why should I have to make you feel comfortable?
Exactly.
Why you don't feel comfortable? That's your business.
Right.
Mhm.
There's a lot of that.
Right.
Why do I have to make you feel comfortable? You should feel comfortable. I feel comfortable.
Yeah.
So
So important. Mind my
goodness,
business.
yeah, exactly, and that is a problem
Mhm.
because we have to tackle that because people are not brothers keepers anymore. It's just
Yeah.
like we just walk straight past. They won't tell you if something's, I'd be out, and if I was in a supermarket and I saw, a woman in front of me and her button was undone, or label hanging out, I might not touch them, but I would say, oh, your label's hanging out.
Mhm.
But people would say, wouldn't do that. Just leave her, and I don't understand that. People just
Right.
let it go,
Right.
because I would want to know. I
Right.
want to know something behind me that I can't see,
Yeah. Yeah.
But we don't have. I don't think we necessarily have that. And if we do have it, we don't have it as much.
Mhm.
And so, if we have that mindset as a culture now, all those things you listed are non-existent.
But as you mentioned that, we used to see these things happening when we were younger. What you hear about when you hear grandmother talking and they're talking about fixing this or helping out with
Yeah.
something, they did it. It was more of a community approach. You rightly said,
Yeah.
now we've gone to this materialistic, individualistic kind of thing. And based on our culture, based on what you were saying, we were more friendly,
Mm.
more mindful of each other, and it's something that we need to get back to. Because if you're working together, then you will, aspire, we will achieve much more. And I think life will be better. And I think we need to get back. Some practices you really just need to get back to it, to understand it. And it starts with just being kind. And this, it might be safe, but it's not productive.
Yeah.
It's not productive in social construct, in business construct, whatever. It wouldn't serve any long run.
Yeah.
So that should encourage us to revisit why we come to this stage in our society where everything is just I, me, and making joke, drinking water, and minding a business. Why have we come to this? And then now we have to think as children of God, can we use that approach, especially when you look at Christ, look at his life and how he interact with his disciples and those. Was that his approach? So we as children of God, we have to go back to what's important, and it all connects again with the love, demonstrating with the love of God.
I think also what is necessary to know that we live in the society now has changed somewhat, and when we're thinking about persons, most persons are self-centered, and the socializing of the inner emotion manifests when we're among others or our agendas. So a lot of persons have their own agendas. So I have my own agenda. I can mash on you guys. I may hurt your feelings, but I'm not so caught up in how you feel or how you're thinking. So I am so focused on my agenda that I miss the important thing of other people. And I think that it comes out more and more when persons speak or they react to each other in a social environment, whether it's at church, whether it's on the bus, whether it is you're going out with friends or whatever. And a lot of people get hurt by this social behavior because we generally don't think about others. And like you said, if I offend you or I hurt you, so what? This is how I feel. And the Bible also speaking the truth in love. But though we speak, because if I can tell you something, and the way I tell you, you can either receive it or not. And I can tell you in love, and you receive it better than if I am harsh about it. And I think that when the Bible talks about this, being social or social being or being sociable is part of who we are. Otherwise, we would be walking the earth by ourselves. And it happened right at creation. Remember Adam and Eve. God saw Adam was alone. Why did he create someone? And you look at it from the context of, he needed to help me, but he also needed someone that was like him, so he could have been social, right? Otherwise, he could have played with the animals. He could have run around with the deer like Tarzan.
Train a monkey to be
train a monkey to exactly. But no, God saw it fit that this guy needs to be socialized with someone who is just like him. And but we are so caught up with ourselves that we miss it. And And I believe that some of the blessings that we are praying about are in other persons, and because of how we treat them, we miss it.
It's
And
true.
then we are praying to God all the time, then we don't see our blessings manifest, and your blessing is right there in front of you.
Right
But
there.
how come you're not seeing it? Because you are so self-centered. You know, and it's like, for example, you can be doing something all of your life, and you're doing it this way, and this way has been hard. And then God allows you to meet someone, you become friends, and this person has a tactful way of doing what you were doing so hard, and then it makes your job so much easier. And if you socialize with that person in the wrong way, then you would have missed that blessing that just came. So it is not simply about having fun and laughing and so on. That's part of it. But we benefit from the other person. The other person that God allows us to come into our life. How we socialize with them will determine the next step. As we move forward. Let's take a quick break, and we will come right back. Therese, we are seeing your comment right there. Therese says that isn't the responsibility of the schools alone. There are standards should be already cultivated in community church, BBS, and so on. And that's so true. This is the point we were talking about earlier in terms of teaching. Being a part of the curriculum and stuff like that. Therese was just adding to that point. I think that's a great point. Okay, stay with us. We're going to take a short break. These are our sponsors coming up on the screen now. So continue to share your opinions and thoughts with us. Dr. Ian, we really appreciate your being on. Dr. Pepe, we also appreciate you passing through as well. So please continue to share your thoughts with us. It's good hearing from you. Please stay with us. Welcome back to Living Life God's Way. Thank you for joining us this evening. Thank you for sharing your opinion and thoughts with us. Any subject that we bring to the table here on the Red Cloth.
I like that one.
Any subject we bring, we give it thought, and we believe that it's important and it will benefit others. So that's why we always have these discussions, so that we will look at them, analyze them, and decide, what, this is something we should discuss. That's what the three of us do. So when we are bringing something to you, it's not because it's not frivolous, but it's well thought out, well discussed. So this evening we are discussing socializing and social skills and stuff. And we have been sharing some interesting thoughts, and you too have been sharing some interesting thoughts with us. We totally appreciate it. Thank you for sharing with us as we continue talking about socializing. I think you were going to make a point before we break. Do you remember what you were going to?
No, but I think I was just alluding to identifying some of these basic etiquettes. So refresh our memory or use this as an opportunity to pass on information. Remember last week we talked about saying hello when we enter into a room. That's all about etiquette. As simple as that is. When we enter into a room, we say hello.
But I want to know you say that, because sometimes we greet others and we say good morning.
Right.
Have you ever greeted someone who said good morning to you, and you would rather that they say good morning? Because you know that good morning was not.
In the UK, some organizations don't want you to say good morning for that very reason.
Okay.
Because not everybody's morning is good. And
Right.
it might
that's-
act as a trigger for some people
Yeah.
or whatever.
Okay,
So
okay.
you just say morning
Okay.
or good afternoon.
Yeah.
No, not good afternoon, or just afternoon, or
Uh-huh.
hello, or how you doing? Nice to
Okay.
see you.
Yeah.
Something like keep it
Okay.
very generic
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
for that very reason.
Okay.
Someone.
Because at first I was like, oh, come on now, that's taking a bit too far. But when you think about it, if you say good morning, the whole reason you say good morning is it's good for you,
Right.
and that's for us as Christians. It's a new day, it's renewed, and you know, it's a good day. But for some people, it's not a good morning.
Let me give you all a real life scenario.
Oh, dear.
So I had this this young lady, and I said to her, how are you today?
Mm-hmm.
And you know what she took that? She took that as to say
Something
something was wrong with me yesterday. Oh no, sorry. I said, are you good today? I said, hi, are you good today?
Oh,
And she was like, something was wrong yesterday. I was like, no, I didn't mean it like that. I just meant like, oh, if you're okay today, if you're fine, you know,
Yeah.
not that something was wrong yesterday. And she still looking at me like,
mm,
But you see, I find it, I struggle because in Proverbs, good is used for everything.
right,
You're good.
you're right,
I'm good. You're good. You're not good. But, you know, there's
Yeah,
so many
yeah.
meanings to
you're
good
right, right.
in Beijing parlance. It can be difficult for us outsiders to kind of,
mhm.
you know, interpret what
What
good is.
really
Yeah,
means,
the same
okay.
thing we talked about friends.
Right.
There's so many different meanings
Right.
to friend.
Right.
Yeah.
So perhaps that might just be I can see that.
I
can see
remember
that.
once I said good morning. I can't even remember where I was. Good morning. What's so good about the morning?
Yeah, see? That's
So
what I mean.
so it's
Yeah.
better to say hello,
Yeah.
Mhm.
hi, and if you want, how are you? But at least greet.
Mm-hmm.
You connect
Right.
with people, or sometimes you're passing on the road and whatever. Sometimes, but you have to use judgment,
Mhm.
yeah, especially in these times. But at least, you know, again, manners, courtesy, etiquette, saying hello. The other thing is,
So can I just put one
go
thing in
right
there? though?
ahead.
But again, cultural context.
Yes.
Here, when you're walking, you'll say good morning to somebody, even if you don't know them walking past
Right.
on the street,
Yeah.
you say good morning. Where I'm from, that's not the norm.
The
People think, well, what's wrong with them? Why are they saying good morning to them? I don't know.
Mm.
Right.
So you can appear to be
Socializing
too overly
culture.
friendly.
Right.
So again, time and place.
Right.
So, you know, yeah.
Yeah, right. That's true. And especially in Barbados, where it's multicultural now, so you have different people coming in. So
Yeah.
it's a learning thing.
Before we continue, I was gonna say good evening to Willie Wilson from Jamaica, from Koja Country Lifestyles. Hello,
Hi.
Willie.
Hi.
Thank you for tuning in and joining with us this evening. We pray that you will enjoy our program. Yes.
Right. Another matter, this falls under etiquette, just being interested in other persons. So again, if you're going at work, you might be in a cubicle or whatever have you, but you still show interest in the other persons around you. And so that is etiquette. And again, I can see how that fosters better relationships.
Mhm.
Simple thing.
I think you're just being too nosy.
If
You've got
it's
to balance. You've got
Yeah,
to, that social
yeah.
intelligence really is. You've got to
it plays
read the
in
room.
there because you have to read the room, read
Right,
the
right,
persons,
right.
how they
And the
respond to
content,
you and
yeah.
everything, and how friendly they are
Exactly.
as well.
You ask a question and they're not
Yeah.
too receptive, then
Yeah.
move
You
on.
know, you
Don't
know.
keep asking. I'm trying to be etiquette.
No.
Let me ask another one. Let me ask another one.
No,
I want
like-
to be friendly.
Like playing music, you know, you play according to the feel. You
Right.
feel.
Right.
But
This is
sometimes you
all-
might be dealing with a person that's just straight
Yeah.
face serious. It's like
They might not want
don't
to-
mess, don't.
Mhm.
So you
Yeah.
just say hi and good morning.
Keep
You keep moving.
That's right.
Right,
You
right.
keep
Right.
moving, you know. Or if you see something happen, I would say, well, do you wish for help? I wouldn't just take it for granted. They want my help.
Yes.
Do you
Yes.
wish for help? But you
Yes.
make yourself available in that regard.
Yeah.
The other thing they mentioned also saying thank you. And I think like that seems to be running out. People do things for one another or send a message or do something. Nothing. Simple thank you. Acknowledging. Because a person doesn't have to be kind or have to whatever.
Mm.
If they take time off to whatever, you say thank you.
Yeah.
Simple. You know, grow up with that. The other thing is being gracious. I'll just go through a little faster. The other one is make a fuss in a nice way. Make a fuss in a nice way. If someone does something for you, you show your appreciation for it. They bought a gift or you pass a test, congratulate people. Just let them know that you appreciate what it is that they're doing. When you're speaking, you face the person or you look into the eyes, and I know you mentioned thing about cultural,
cultures.
you know, it might be unmannerly to look in certain people's eyes, but at least from what I know growing up in Barbados, you look at the person. If you don't look at the person, you recognize, well, you don't have confidence or you're not sure what you're saying or whatever have you. But you want to have some kind of facial connection at some point. To say avoid sarcasm, well, that could be rampant, but to avoid it, you know, being on time, that is counted as well. And even addressing people by their names, especially to me, especially if you go to an office or some salesperson and they have the name tag, you know, you try to use it as much as possible. And dressing for the occasion. So that's very, that's an interesting one as well, because you see some people, they might be going to a meeting and they dress as though they're going to a party. Do we really know what's the dress code? And interesting, and I can pause after this, listen. As you said last week, there's hearing and there's listening. And there's listening. So we have to learn to listen, taking one another's point, understand what they're saying, listen and not prepare an answer before you hear what it is they are really saying. So I can pause a little.
Yeah, that's so. Sorry.
I was going to say, do you see why some people don't want to socialize? There's a lot of rules and things to manage and to consider and it's like it's hard. For some people that might be such hard work.
Yeah, but I understand it's hard work, but life is hard work.
Yeah, I don't agree with that. You know, you should try and whatever. Like I said, you've got to pick your hard. Everything's going to be hard, but it's which hard you choose.
Yeah.
But for someone, as I mentioned last week about someone who might have, you know, be neurodivergent, that is really difficult for them to do.
But would it help?
Because of how their mind, you know, how they're wired. Yeah.
But it still has to be done. What I say has to be done because we don't live in a world by ourselves. And at some point in time, we have to be in an environment with others. So even if let's say, because some of us would say, you know, I don't like people, I just want to be by myself, I just go home and watch TV and I'm good with that. But you still have to go to the supermarket, you still have to go to church, you still have to go to work, you know, you have to drive to work, you have to go in the gas station and deal with people, you have to catch the bus and deal with people. So
but those things are all very small, short interactions.
Yeah, but
in a social environment,
but which could still
change it. But in a short, in a social setting, it's elongated. There's more to read. There's more to think about. It's okay to say please and thank you at the gas station or in the supermarket for a very short time. But for someone who's, you know, in a social setting, that could be really difficult. So my thing is, how do we help those persons? They set up their world, so it works for them.
Right.
It's like people who can't read. You know, they will set up their world. Oh, I forgot my glasses. Oh, could you read that for me? I can't see it from it. They have tactics to get around having to read.
Yeah, no.
You know, I worked with somebody who was a manager and they could not read, but they had their tactics and made it work for them. And so that's what will happen. People will make their way up, but I'm good. I'm all right being on my own. I don't mind. You know, and they will say that. So then, how do you?
See what
sell it to them?
Yeah, I understand. I totally understand what you're saying. But one of the things that I realize, the human being is limited by a number of things. It's either you're limited by education, you are limited by knowledge, you are limited by experience, you're limited by something. And there are other persons who may not have that cap over their head that would be able to help you. So if you are honest with yourself, you know where your challenges are. So if I know my challenge lies here, being sociable can help you overcome your challenge or can help guide you with your challenge. And I think that and again, I can relate it to being so self-absorbed that you miss the strength in others, right? Yeah. So that if you don't know, even if you have a tactful way to get around it, let's say, for example, I couldn't read Jack on this phone. And I said, God, don't read that there for me, man.
Yeah, you have to
go find
find
a tactful way so that I will benefit from your wisdom. You understand what I'm saying?
Or when we go to a dinner or whatever, You're not sure if you use the small fork, the big one, the knife, or the whatever.
Right.
And with a table full,
Right. Right.
just wait a little
wait
bit.
till you watch.
Wait a little
Yeah,
bit.
yeah, right,
I do
right,
that already.
right,
You just
right.
observe, and then,
Yeah.
okay, that's what I'm going. Go right
Yeah.
ahead.
Yeah, because otherwise we will always be falling short where we don't know. And the world that we live in, there's so much that we can benefit from others who have studied from this particular area. From, let's say, like Dr. Ian, if I'm thinking something, if I'm preparing a message on your brain or preparing a message on your those kind of things, I would message and say, Doc, so just tell me about this here, and get that information. So when I started, I heard he was the first person I heard talking about frontal lobe, and I said, frontal lobe, what's that? Let me go check that. So I benefited from being, I'm socializing with him.
Yeah.
I was able to. So I'm just saying that
You're
can be difficult.
confident, you've got a learning spirit, you're a passer.
But
Yeah, all
okay,
those things.
hold on.
Things.
So then we have to have the spirit of a learner, and that's a learner.
Right.
That's why I always say, as you could be a teacher, but still be
learning.
a student.
Yes, absolutely.
Be always
Best teachers are
Yeah,
the ones
best-
who are students.
Yeah,
in
be
the classroom,
be a
honestly.
top
Yeah.
student. Be the one who always want to learn.
Ask
Yeah.
questions.
You know
Yeah,
how
yeah.
so how do you do that?
You don't know.
You don't know, because
Ask-
when the know everything persons don't learn nothing.
Don't know
learn
anything.
nothing.
Yeah, it's true.
You know, and if you see, even when you watch some of these guys who are popular in the world, they're very humble. So they're bringing people to
Yeah.
teach them to speak. Why
Yeah.
why would I be known and still bring someone who's into linguistics to
Yes,
tell me how to
that is
use
it.
my language?
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
so if we really have to explore those things so that we become better. And if when you learn from someone, you become better. Woo, woo for you.
What happens if someone says to you, but I'm okay?
You are not okay.
No, that's you say I'm not okay.
But you see,
Do you know
again,
what I mean?
you just hit it where you said you have to be humble. Well, if they feel that they're okay, you can't do anything, because that's a block one time.
Right.
Let me share before you continue.
Go ahead.
Samantha is asking us. Samantha is always on with us. She asks, what's today's subject? Samantha, today's subject, we're talking about socializing and social skills. So we're just looking at different dimensions of being a sociable person and the impact you have when you're sociable or non-sociable, or the negative and the positive. So that's what we're discussing this evening: socializing and social skills. Yes.
Yeah, so it's about being humble, and recognizing that you don't know everything. Even for me as a teacher, many times I'm still learning.
Yep.
Or student might ask me a question. Hold on, yeah. Let me get back to you. I don't have a problem with that. And then we talk about it further.
Right.
So when you are reflecting on yourself in terms of betterment, you have to know where are your strengths and where are your weak areas.
Right.
So that if you meet a person who's probably strong in a particular area, I'll go and say, Colin, I need help in that, though. And he's rattle out the answer, and it's like, oh, that's all that's missing. You understand? So we benefit, and as you all were talking just now, I think about the Bible, how it talks about the body being fit together. The arm, the leg, the head, everything jointly fits together so that we can all function. So God knows that we won't all have it together. We won't have it together, I repeat. So therefore, that is why we should come together in love. So that it's easy to ask. The Bible says, ask that your joy may be full. So when we ask, we can sharpen each other here and there. Because anyhow you take it, we all have to get through in this world, socially, emotionally, physically, on the job, at home, wherever. Somebody might be better at relationships, you ask. Somebody might be better at business management, and that is your area of weakness, you ask. Somebody better at manners and etiquette, ask a question.
And that's totally true. And so to your point, Doc, because I understand where you're coming from, because when our limitations can be our greatest enemy. And sometimes we find ourselves where we are so uncomfortable with something that it can be our inner enemy. We're not benefiting from those who are in your space, because you always know. And I think that socializing with others will help you to realize that you're always nobody.
Yeah.
You know,
That's true.
because there are persons who, they're better at certain things than you are. You can pick up from those. And sometimes something as simple as the person may not even be better, but they may know something at that point in time that you weren't exposed to, and they were able to share it with you. So I think that having and understanding this is crucial. And I think that it can bring us to a place of humility for us to understand, what, we really do need each other in the world. So socializing teaches us that we need each other, and that's what the Bible says, iron sharpens iron. If we can sharpen ourselves, then we will need, we will need each other. But the fact that we do need each other is and I think that God is the biggest socializing person, or the biggest socialist ever, from the context of being a part of person's life. If you look at Jesus was always among the people, so he had to be someone who liked socializing. Of course, all intended purposes, but he was among the people.
Yeah.
He sat with the people. He understood the people, so he knew what it was to, like, when he's preaching. So he used person's circumstances. The woman at the well, I can give you water, because she was fetching water. So he was able to relate to persons that way, as opposed to come and tell her, "Oh, I know how you can be saved. You can be saved today by," he gave her real life. Yes. So he met her need, which was something that she accustomed to doing. You're accustomed fetching water from this well, but I can give you living water. So socializing helps us to, to be able to communicate better, to be relative in circumstances, relative in relationships, relative at work, relative at church. I think that socializing helps us with all of those things, and is very important for us.
Absolutely.
Let's take a short break, and Doc will come back with a point. I hear a point there coming out somewhere. Please stay with us. We'll be right back.
Welcome to Living Life God's Way. Real life, real talk, real hope. Every show. Join us every Thursday at 6:30 p.m. as we discuss topics relating to life, church, family, education, and so much more. Invite a friend. Tag them even. But don't you dare miss the show. Living Life God's Way. Every Thursday at 6:30 p.m.
So time is going so quickly this evening as we are talking about socializing and social skills. We were just discussing off screen. We have like 3 minutes maybe. We were discussing off screen the generation, our youth, and the generation that is existing now, that is our future. And we believe we have some concerns about how our young people are socializing, and maybe we can share some tips with parents how they can help their children to socialize a little better. You guys think we can?
Yeah.
So, go ahead, Doc. Let's hear it.
Didn't even look at me. I think for me, as an education specialist, as a youth worker, as a parent, as a mentor, I think a lot of it is around the communication between adults and young people and children. There seems to be such a big chasm between the elders and the young people. When I was growing up, elders and young people used to merge a lot more, whether it be community events, whether it be house gatherings, family gatherings, whatever. There seems to be more connection with elders and the younger generation. And that doesn't seem to happen now. And I think young people are losing out dramatically on not having that interaction with elders, not hearing their wisdom, not hearing their guidance. I don't know if it's because obviously, we're seeing younger grandparents now, younger parents in general. So, they don't even have the wisdom themselves sometimes to pass on.
Right.
And that's not a judgment call. That's just,
It's
experience. It's just facts with maturity and so on.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's one of the reasons, but that's, for me, about communication, parents communicating with their children. I don't mean communicating via, social media or WhatsApp or, I know people live in the same house and they message their children. They don't speak to their children. They don't call them and have a conversation. A simple thing might be, I know people's schedules and times and work and what have you, but at least once a week, you should have a meal together. Around the table, trays, plates in your hand, whatever, but just have a meal together. No social media, no devices. Everybody sit down and you have a meal together and you talk. You talk about what happened during the week, what happened during the day, anything that's bothered. Just communicate with the children, because they're not communicating, I don't think, with elders. So they find their guidance and support through social media. That's why there's so much they're so easily influenced by the imagery, because they have nothing else to guide them. So they're just being guided by that. Listening to their friends. When you're a teenager, your friends are your everything. You go to them for everything, and that's not a bad thing. It's good. It's a part of being sociable and developing a social skill. But you should be able to have a relationship with an elder, whether a parent, auntie, uncle, older brother, sister, to say, my friend said this. Is that really true? Have some clarification, some kind of guidance, and not just take everything that's on their phone or on their device. So, in summary, communicate better with your children, or children that are in your care. You won't always be your biological children, whoever. And at least, I would say, one meal a week where you all sit down together and you talk using your mouth, not your phone.
That's interesting. And I'm also thinking, as parents, we lead by example. How we interact. Because let's say you're traveling in the car, your children, they are with you, they're seeing how you respond to people, how you respond to someone trying to cross you, how you respond when you purchase something and someone gives you a bag, how you address someone when you meet them. So all of these lead by example. Whatever you want to see the children grow up with, then we have to lead by examples. And that is a big one as well. Leading by examples. Yeah.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we have gone over our time by a minute or so. I think we've been having a really good discussion, and I think that you should share this copy the link and share it with a friend, and so you can hear our thoughts and so on about socializing, the importance of it, and the importance of having social skills. We said social skills connect with if you're doing an interview, if you are among persons, you will know how to behave in public, you will know how to speak, where, when, the tone. I think that all of this connects with being a sociable person. And you may say that you don't like socializing, that's not your thing, but at some point in time, you still have to socialize with others. Even if it's in a short-term basis or short span, you will still have to do it. If, let's say, for example, you went to the supermarket and you had an issue, you only know how to respond to the issue if you are a sociable person in terms of knowing how to ask the right questions, knowing how to respond to a disgruntled person if you are in sales and stuff like that. So all of this helps with socializing. So as I was saying, you may not think that you're a sociable person, but it is very important to understand that you still have to socialize at some point in time. So I think that it's important to note that. So we hope today that we have given you some ideas. Thank you, Dr. Ian, for saying that. We've given you some ideas and some thoughts for you to look over in your mind, rethink how you respond to others, rethink how you behave in public, even rethink how you behave at church when you're going to church and someone looks at you funny. Rethink how you will respond to that. Rethink how you can rethink those things. Okay, as a sociable person, what do I respond in the same manner? Do I turn the other cheek? Blah 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 blah. But you're getting the point I'm trying to make, so that we look at ourselves so that all the time, yes, Dr. Ian, rethink, so that all different times in our experience with others, we will be able to put our best foot forward as an individual. And it doesn't depend on how they react or how they behave, but you are so, what's the word? You are so working on yourself, for lack of a better word. You're so working on yourself that others will benefit from you, even if they respond in a negative manner, because you are, and that's a good time you can say, I am who I am. If you are able to teach somebody in a time where a crisis is happening, and you're able to be the more mature person. So on behalf of Dr. Colleen and Elder Charity and myself and all of us here at Living Life God's Way, it has been a pleasure sharing these thoughts with you this evening on socialization and social skills. So go out there and be a sociable person. Be nice to someone.
Butterfly.
Social butterfly. Be nice. Speak to someone and wave your hand and
give a good word.
Give a good word if their face permits it. So on behalf of us, on behalf of all of us here, we wish you a great evening and we wish you God's blessing. And we're looking forward to seeing you on Saturday for Love Talk, ladies. On Zoom. It's going to be on Zoom. If you're interested, please you can send a message here saying, I'm interested in Love Talk. And we'll connect. We'll connect with you. They will connect with you. The ladies will cuss this a ladies thing. The ladies will connect with you. All right. So please do that. If you're interested in Love Talk, it's going to be held on Zoom. It's not going to be live. So if you really want to be a part of this exciting discussion, you will need to say, I want to be part of Love Talk, and information will be sent to you. You can send it right here in the chat and we'll see it and we'll make the necessary connections. Join us tomorrow at 8 o'clock EST on elements of these same pages actually, as we pray and intercede on the behalf of others on Fire Friday. So on behalf of Dr. Colleen and Elder Sheridan,
Bye.
Have a good night and we'll see you again next week on Living Life God's Way. God bless you and have a fantastic evening.
Welcome to Living Life God's Way. Real life, real talk, real hope. Every show. Join us every Thursday at 6:30 p.m. as we discuss topics relating to life, church, family, education, and so much more. Invite a friend. Tag them even. But don't you dare miss the show. Living Life God's Way. Every Thursday at 6:30 p.m.